What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Baseballogy. I'm your host for the show, Ryan Evans. Welcome if you are tuning in for the first time. Welcome if you have seen my channel before and know what this channel is about. If you don't know what this channel is, let me explain pretty quick. Baseballogy is the study of baseball. I'm trying to make this channel more than that. I'm going to be doing breakdowns of games, focused questions, transactions, news, and even games of like baseball trivia that I hope to get started on kind of soon. Um, so for my fourth, this is my fourth video. We are going to talk about the Baseball Hall of Fame and how and why that situation happened the way it did. For those of you that don't know, the Hall of Fame voters decided that no one deserved to be elected into the Hall of Fame this year, even though you had guys on the list like Curt Schilling, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and a bunch of other guys that had like great careers in the MLB. So, who are my top three guys on the list? And feel free to even put in the comments who you think your top three guys are for this list. Top four, top five, doesn't matter. Put in the comments who you think should have been in the Hall of Fame. So my top three guys are number one, Todd Houghton, number two, Billy Wagner, and then number three, Curt Schilling. So let's talk about Curt Schilling, shall we? Curt Schilling, in his ninth season being on the ballot, had 285 votes. He got a total of 71.1% of votes to be elected, which does not hit the 75% threshold that he needed. Schilling, in his 20-year career, most notably played for the Philadelphia Phillies, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Boston Red Sox, and less notably the Baltimore Orioles and the Houston Astros. In 20 years, he went 216 and 146, had a career 3.46 ERA, 3,116 career strikeouts, and a career 1.137 whip, whip being wins plus hits divided by innings pitched, if you did not know that. He was also a six-time All-Star, three-time World Series champion, and a World Series MVP in 2001 for the Diamondbacks. Finally, he has a 79.5 WAR, or wins above replacement. This number puts him at number 65 on the all-time WAR leaderboard, right under Pete Rose, who also did not get into the Hall of Fame, but that's a whole situation. That could be just a whole video, like the background of what happened to him. There have been like many guys lower on that list, the WAR leaderboard, to make it into the Hall of Fame. So what gives? You look at this short baseball biography of Curt Schilling, and you see all these amazing numbers, or some just great numbers. It's up to you on how you want to interpret. You have to ask why, though. Like, you have to ask why. Why did he not get in? So, my opinion, I believe he is kind of being blacklisted, blackballed, I don't know, for his opinions on, like, political issues. I feel like the voters didn't take too kindly to his opinions. The fact that he is a Republican and is very, very vocal about it in the same way Gina Carano from The Mandalorian is. I think Schilling had a very great career in the MLB, and the voters should look at his numbers in the MLB and not other things like his ties with a political candidate. I don't think that matters when it comes to a player's Hall of Fame candidacy. So let's put all politics aside and look at his career in the MLB. His numbers, I believe, show that he should be in the Hall of Fame. So put a comment down below if you think his political ties have anything to do with it. I think it's an interesting topic of conversation because we all know how like outspoken he is. So if you think he is being like blacklisted by the MLB, put a comment. Tell me what you think. So let's move on to the next guy who finished second in voting for the Hall of Fame, Barry Bonds. Bonds obviously has a lot of drama around his name because he was caught with steroids along with other guys on the list like Roger Clemens, Sammy Sosa, and Gary Sheffield also got caught. Bonds hit 762 home runs in his career, but also had a 298 batting average, had a 444 on base percentage, and a 1051 OPS. He also somehow got 514 stolen bases. Pretty impressive considering he was more well known for his power. On top of all that, he was a 7-time MVP, 14-time All-Star, 8-time Gold Glove, 12-time Silver Slugger, 2-time he got the batting title 2 times and had a 162.8 WAR. His stats are really impressive when you look at them like that. But being caught with steroids, as we've all seen, can mess with a player's Hall of Fame ballot completely. Did he earn those numbers? Would he have the same numbers even if he was not on steroids? Right? My opinion, I think he doesn't deserve to be elected into the Hall of Fame because he cheated. He used performance-enhancing drugs to make himself play better, and even though he still has to time the ball up and hit the ball, and exit velocity and launch angle and all of that fun stuff, the PEDs helped him. There's almost no doubt about that. I think he has amazing numbers, possibly making him one of the best of all time to ever play the game. But I think the question of whether he benefited from the PEDs is the only one that matters. So, third person on the list is Roger Clemens, who also got in a lot of trouble for roids. He, like Bonds, had amazing numbers in his career, but do his stats mean anything when he got caught with steroids? In Clemens' career, he went 354 and 184 with a 3.14 ERA, 4,672 strikeouts, and a 1.173 WHIP. He has a 139.2 WAR. Along with that, he was a 1-time MVP, 7-time Cy Young, 2-time Triple Crown winner, 11-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, and also won an All-Star MVP. His numbers are frankly insane, but the question that looms in the back of everybody's mind is the same one that you think of when you think of Barry Bonds. Do his numbers matter? He got caught with steroids, so is it even worth mentioning his stats? My opinion, I definitely believe he would be in the Hall of Fame if he did not have the tiny little asterisk right next to his name. But since he does, there's no way any sane person can say he belongs in the Hall of Fame. He got caught with steroids, and I know I've said this like 30 times, but he got caught with steroids. There's just automatically an asterisk because you don't know what his career would have been like without it. Okay. Scott Rowland is the fourth person on the list of people who didn't quite make it in the Hall of Fame. He has been on the ballot for a few years now, and he hasn't gotten in yet. This year might have been the closest he's been to making it into the Hall. He got a good 212 votes, giving him 52.9% of the vote. Rowland has a WAR that is like pretty comparable to Curt Schilling, who we talked about earlier in the episode. Rowland also had a career 281 batting average, 364 on base percentage, 855 OPS, 316 home runs. He was also Rookie of the Year, 7-time All-Star, World Series champion, 8-time Gold Glove, and 1-time Silver Slugger. I really like Scott Rowland as a Hall of Fame candidate. If you look at past Hall of Fame elections, you've seen players like Tim Raines, Harold Baines get in, even though they were questionably not Hall of Fame worthy. I believe Rowland is still way better than half the guys on this list. He's not this huge power threat, but he can hit home runs, as you can tell by his 316 home runs. Plus, I kind of like the number 316 because I think of the Bible verse, John 3:16, which is like possibly my favorite verse. So, Roland should definitely be in the Hall of Fame, but I think it might be another year or 2 or 3 until he gets in. So this was like his only 4th year on the ballot, so he has plenty more, like 6 more years to go. Going back to my top 3 that I mentioned earlier on in the video, I think Roland is a close 4th after Curt Schilling. Now we are going to transition to the 5th person on the list, which is Omar Vizquel. Vizquel was a 3-time All-Star and 11-time Gold Glove. That's kind of it. He had a career 272 batting average. It's kind of... It definitely could be like way better, I feel like, considering he was mostly a contact hitter. He slapped the ball. Like, that was mostly what he was supposed to do. Like, I don't know. 336 on base percentage and a 688 OPS. Also, having 404 stolen bases and 80 home runs. Wow, that's kind of bad. Vizquel also has a career 45.6 WAR, which is very subpar to say the least. Like, I'll be honest, I think Vizquel got way too many votes. I think he got way too many. He got 197, which equates to 49.1% of the votes. I don't think he's a Hall of Fame player. I think he's a good player, but I think the Hall of Fame is only for great players. Guys who put up insane numbers and guys who dominated the league during their playing career. I think Vizquel is a good player, but just not good enough to sit in the Hall of Fame. I'm not gonna be insanely mad if they end up electing him, though. I don't care that much. I don't care that much. This was his 4th year on the ballot, like Scott Rowland, so he could easily find his way into the Hall of Fame towards like towards the very end. Like, maybe in the 10th year, they're just like, okay, I kind of feel bad for him. All right, let's put him in. All right. At number 6, we have Billy Wagner. Wagner is a left-handed closer that pitched mostly for the Astros and about 4 years for the Mets, I think. Wagner is 47-40 in his career, but he was mostly a closer, so I don't actually think that matters. He had a 2.31 ERA, 422 saves, 1,196 strikeouts, and a whip of 0.998. Wagner was a 7-time All-Star, but had no other awards or accomplishments. I think Wagner should be elected into the Hall of Fame because if you look at his stats, they're not bad. He's ranked number 6 in saves in his career. I also think, to be honest, saves are slightly overrated as a stat. But his other numbers, like 0.998 whip and his 2.31 ERA, are about the same as Mariano Rivera's, whose was 1.0 even on the whip. Like, that was his whip, 1.0 even, and 2.21 ERA. The problem with Wagner's Hall of Fame candidacy is his save number. People think his number should be a lot closer to Rivera's number, and I think that's a bit asinine because Rivera is really the best closer of all time. I think Wagner still deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because he has really great numbers. And there are actually possibly worse people in the Hall of Fame, so just why not? Like, he hasn't, like, cheated, I don't think. Unless there is something that I don't know. The next person we have is ranked at number 7, Todd Helton. I believe Helton had a great career. He was a 5-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove, 4-time Silver Slugger. His numbers from his career are 316 batting average, 414 on base percentage, 953 OPS, and he hit a solid 369 home runs. I think something that helps his Hall of Fame candidacy is the fact that he stayed with one team for his entire career. I think I would expect a little more in the home run department, but I don't know. Especially since he played his entire career in cores, so he should have like 450. I don't know. That might be wrong to suggest that, but I just feel like he should have more home runs. If this matters, he also has 2,519 hits and a 61.8 WAR. I think Houghton is definitely one of the main guys on the list here that should be in the Hall of Fame because I think he played really well throughout his entire career. He also got on base a lot, as you can see by the 400 plus on base percentage. And he got a lot of base hits, as you can see by the 316 batting average and the 2,500 hits. I definitely feel like he should be in, but I think it may take another year or two. The next guy at number 8 is another roid user who got caught and is being held hostage with his Hall of Fame candidacy. Sheffield is now in his 7th season being on the ballot, and he probably won't make any progress with his hopes of making the Hall of Fame. Sheffield was a 9-time All-Star, 1997 World Series champion, 5-time Silver Slugger, and won the batting title once. He had 2,689 hits, a 292 batting average, a 393 on base, 509 home runs, and a 907 OPS. He has a WAR of 60.5, which is pretty meh. He's pretty closely under Todd Houghton on the WAR list, which makes it a bit weird to say Houghton should be in the Hall and not Sheffield, right? The reason I say Houghton should make it and not Sheffield is because Houghton did not have to use roids to make a good career in the MLB. If all these guys had not cheated, then it would be a way different story. I just cannot, in good conscience, say he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Next up, number 8 is Andrew Jones, who is a good player defensively, but that's really it. There's nothing else about him that sparks me as a Hall of Fame candidate. Jones was a 5-time All-Star, a 10-time Gold Glove, and won a Silver Slugger. He has under 2,000 hits. That kind of sucks, TBH. Under 2,000, you see a lot of like Hall of Famers get, I would say, 2,500 plus. That's a pretty good number. He has a 254 batting average, 337 on base, and an 823 OPS, and that is very meh. That's very meh. That's not really like a good quality player, you know? Not one for the Hall of Fame. There are plenty of guys on the list that have way better numbers. I legitimately think I would take Bonds over Andrew Jones any day because these stats are almost atrocious. Good-ish, like they're okay, they're meh, but they're not great. They're not what you would expect from a Hall of Fame player. He has a solid 434 home runs, but I feel like he definitely should have more. Simple as that. He should have more home runs than he ended up with. His career was very mediocre, and he was really only good as a defensive wizard. So this one, I'm going to have to say it's a hard pass. Oh my god. Right. Ah, man, I'm getting tired. I feel like I shouldn't be. It's only 12:30. Next up is Jeff Kent, who had a total of 130 votes and had 32.4% of the votes. He is the 10th place player in the voting for the 2021 Hall of Fame. This is the last that I'm going to talk about in some detail because there are 25 guys on the list, 17 of which made it onto next year's ballot. Kent had a 290 career batting average, 356 on base, and also had a 855 OPS. He hit 377 home runs and also got 2,461 hits in his baseball career. He also has a 55.4 WAR. I think Kent is a fringe Hall of Famer. He might get into the Hall of Fame, but he also only has 2 more years left on the ballot. I think he has decent numbers, but I don't think the voters like him all that much. I think he's probably not going to get in. He would have to gain a lot more ground in the next 2 years, and I really just don't see it as being likely. So, the guys who did not really get talked about in this video are Manny Ramirez, steroids, Sammy Sosa, steroids, Andy Pettit, I just didn't get to him. Mark Burley didn't get to him. Torrey Hunter did not get to him. Bobby Abreu didn't get to him, and Tim Hudson. I just didn't get to any of those guys. Those guys will be on the ballot next year, and I think for quite a bit more time. The guys who did not make the 5% of the votes to stay on the ballot are Aramis Ramirez, LaTroy Hawkins, Barry Zito, AJ Burnett, Shane Victorino, Dan Herron, Michael Kadire, and finally Nick Swisher. So there are a lot of guys in this whole second part of the voting. Most of the guys who got enough votes to stay on only got 5 to 30% of the votes, which is why I really didn't mention them. Another reason we all know, like I said, Manny Ramirez and Sammy Sosa won't make the Hall of Fame. Sure, they probably had some great numbers, but they got caught cheating, like, pretty badly, too. All of the first year, or early on the ballot guys, I wasn't really going to mention. It's because they have plenty more years on the ballot, so Mark Burley and Tim Hudson might make a run for the Hall of Fame in the next couple years. If you absolutely want me to talk about these guys, let me know. I can write something up for them because it would just take me another couple of days to do it, which isn't like that bad. If you liked this video, drop a like and subscribe to my channel. Drop a comment and tell me your top 3 guys on the list. I know this was longer than I wanted it to be, and I'm a little bit sorry about that. I just thought this was kind of relevant because the voting happened not too long ago. In other news, I have opened up a store on the website Teespring. I will put the link to my store down below. I made some cool shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. But if you want me to add something, let me know. I'm really trying to make this channel big. My ultimate goal being 100,000 subs. And I have a bunch of people laugh, and I have a bunch of people just say, "Oh, yep, yeah, you know what? It's fun to have a dream, but you know, I don't know. It's just something, you know. I really want to make it big on this channel because this is something I love to do. So tell your friends, share my videos and my channel on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Why not? Seriously, help me do more fun things on my channel. You know, and with that, stay tuned for more videos, especially baseball trivia, MLB The Show 21, and a bunch of other fun stuff. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Baseball.